Hi, I'm Bill Patrick. The program you're about to see is part of a vintage series called Car and Track, which was originally produced during the first half of the 1970s. Before we begin the show, though, a brief program note. Using as many as 8 cameras to shoot a single event, Car and Track captured some of the great NASCAR competitions of the era, one race at a time. Over the course of some 80 episodes through 6 seasons, series producer and host Bud Lindemann lovingly documented a unique era in American motor racing. While the race action contained in the series remains timeless, the program itself has not dated quite so gracefully. Although the years have not been overly kind to Bud's decidedly low-key introductions and interviews, we believe them to be an integral part of this one-of-a-kind series. So please, stay with us now as Speed Vision presents a rare slice of 1970s Americana, Car and Track.
Hi there, welcome. Today's show is a little different, in that we salute a group of men who, for the most part, receive too little attention and even less of the glory in motorsports. I'm talking about the men who comprise the pit crews. You'll see just how important these people are toward getting a car into victory lane. On the racing scene, we go back to California and the Ontario Motor Speedway for a 250-mile go-around with the NASCAR late-model Sportsman cars. Now, they're not quite as sophisticated as the Grand National Speedsters, but the desire for the checkered flag is just as strong, and they drive them even harder. Our road test car of the week is a zinger called a Dodge Charger SE. It had 440 cubic acres of go and a driver that wanted to twist it every way but loose. You know, I think you'll like this one. We'll be back with the racing action from Ontario Motor Speedway in just 1 minute. This is the first time that Ontario Motor Speedway has played host to the NASCAR late model Sportsman cars, and the track officials plan on making it an annual event. It also represents the first time many of these drivers have raced on a big 2.5-mile super speedway. Clem Proctor had the fastest time and starts on the pole in the T-Bird number 33. 44 is George Fulmer, starting in the second position. In the second row, it's Sonny Easley in number 68, and number 18 is Larry Rousseau. The tension builds and the crowd stands as this 40-car field slashes through the fourth turn and screams down the front chute for the green flag, and they're off. And Proctor are side by side right from the flag, but George Fulmer fires out in front as they enter turn 3. Fulmer tries to stretch his lead, but can't seem to get away from Clem Proctor. Meantime, Red Farmer, the boy from Hueytown, Alabama, started 8th and is moving up fast. In the fourth turn, the red number 74, driven by Tom Patton, blows the engine, spews oil all over the track, and spins into the infield. Two more cars following Patton hit the oil slick and spin. It was Larry Rousseau in number 18 and Dean Huss in car number 4. This accident drew a yellow flag on the 20th lap. Proctor brings his T-Bird in for a quick pit stop on the yellow flag. Gets fuel, goes back on the track just in time for the restart. Fulmer is the front runner, but now Sonny Easley has moved into the second spot in the Ford number 68 and challenges on every corner. On the backstretch, Proctor passes Easley to regain his number 2 spot. Car number 2, Randy Becker, lost it in the second turn, spun, and crashed into the concrete retaining wall. The yellow is out again, this time on the 48th lap. Fulmer is the first of the leaders to head for pit road. He gets fuel and right side rubber. 28 seconds later, goes back on the track. On the green flag, Proctor buries his foot in that T-bird and takes the lead, but Fulmer is right on him and brushing the rear bumper. Look out! That was Ray Bleckert in the Ford number 22. He came high and wide through the fourth turn, lost it, hit the wall, and spun off into the infield. He was taken to the field hospital, where later the track official stated that he was suffering from a concussion. There goes another one. That fourth turn is getting slick. Kurt Gresham just put his Ford on a spinner, but he kept it off the wall, turns around, and goes back in the race. George Fulmer has the lead now, with Sonny Easley working him over on every turn. Chet Proctor is running third. Easley got a wheel on the inside of Fulmer, powers his way through, and takes the lead in turn 2. Cars are flat out screaming. With just a few laps to go, Easley's Ford starts to smoke. The white flag is out. It's the last lap. Easley still has the lead as they fire down the back chute. He's smoking badly now, and Fulmer tries him high and low. Out of the fourth turn, and here's the drag for the flag as Fulmer slashes down low. Both cars are wound to the limit, and Fulmer takes it by 3 feet. A spectacular finish to a wild race. Sonny Easley finishes second. Bud Hickey puts his 67 Chevy in the third place spot. It was a close one, but only one car can go into victory lane. This time, it was George Fulmer, and he's mighty happy as he picks up the trophy, a kiss, and a bag of money. When we first met the Dodge Charger, all the bells rang. It was different and to some degree exciting. Our feelings have not changed since that first introduction. For my money, it's the year's best styling job to come out of Motown. Somebody finally had enough originality to build a car that doesn't look like it came off a GM drawing board. Well, this alone puts it in a bracket by itself. But it doesn't end in the styling department. When you get this Dodge on the track, climb in and crank it up. Hey, it's a happening. If you like cars, and in particular appreciate styling, this 1971 Charger has to grab you. And the SE version, meaning special edition, is the top of the line. At least it better be. It carries a whale of a window sticker. Our tester ran well over the $5,000 mark. Automatic headlight washers were on the list of every conceivable option. Overall handling was improved by these G6015 Goodyear polyglass tires. In the muscle compartment, we had it all. The 440 cubic inch V8 delivering 370 horsepower at 4,600 RPM. This one had all the quick sounds. On our first run, we had 30 miles an hour in 2.4 seconds.
Second run felt even better. When we buried our foot in all those Mopar goodies, we rang the bell on 50 in 4.4 seconds. With that wide rubber hop, the dig was better. And the slapstick automatic shifter enabled us to run the RPMs to around 5,500, which we found to be our best shift point. 70 miles an hour came 8 seconds after we left the line. The braking department is not the strongest port on the Charger. From 30, it took 34 feet. But then you can almost equal that by dragging your foot. It was the panic stop that left a lot to be desired. This 50-mile-an-hour stop scraped rubber for 105 feet. The pedal faded noticeably, and you could smell them all over the racetrack. We ended the forward motion on this 7-mile-an-hour stop in 212 feet. Rear axle hop was wild. Heat buildup intense. Pedal fade almost to the floor. What our car lacked in the braking department, it more than made up for in overall performance and handling. Our highway evaluation showed the SE to be a most able and comfortable car. Fuel consumption took it right out of any imaginable economy bracket, with 8 to 10 miles per gallon, depending on the type of driving. Some automotive experts have tested this model Charger, and they stated that the car has massive understeer, plows through the turns, and from a handling standpoint was anything but graceful. We did not find this to be true, but then driver skill could understandably make the difference. Granted, the car doesn't negotiate corners in the same manner as a Ferrari, but taking the vehicle for what it is, a 4,000-pound, 5-passenger sedan, you'd have to agree from this film that the car is a better than average performer by far. Through the pylon course, we noticed that body lean was a little excessive. However, it was not noticeable on the inside. Under the front end, Dodge employs independent, unequal-length control arms, torsion bars, and an anti-sway bar. In the rear, a rigid axle, semi-elliptic leaf springs, and another anti-sway bar. This heavy-duty suspension, plus the wide oval tires, made for good rebound and recovery. The driving position in this new Charger showed a marked improvement over past models. They apparently repositioned the steering wheel or raised the seats, possibly both. At least this year's car seemed far more comfortable. And speaking of the steering wheel, it was small, cushioned, and leather covered, enabling a good non-slip grip. The wheelbase on this 71 offering was reduced by 2 inches, the overall length by 3. And while the car has 2 or 3 more inches of width on the interior, it actually feels smaller from the driver's seat. I hope I don't have to explain this, because I can't. A few weeks ago, we tested another Charger with a 318 cubic inch engine and standard suspension. The difference was vast, to say the least. And even in this era of high insurance premiums and the fading supercar, we believe that the power and the handling ability of a performance car are the same ingredients for a safer car.
Is it really true that races are won and lost in the pits? Sportscasters use this phrase more and more at every racetrack. The top qualifiers are timing in at just a fraction of a second apart. The speeds are virtually the same. The competition, well, it grows more fierce by the day. The checkered flag grabbers are winning by just a very few seconds. And consequently, any time they can save in the pits represents dollars on the track. We'd like to dedicate this feature to those very necessary men who serve on a pit stop.
The Grand National Division of NASCAR predominates the super speedways of the Southland. These races feature some of the finest pit crews in the business. With an accident on the track, many of the top cars dive down pit row for fuel and tires. Here's two-time champion Richard Petty. His crew is headed up by Brother Maurice. Almost before the car comes to a halt, the jack is under it, impact wrenches are on the lug nuts, and fuel dumped into a thirsty gas tank. The rules state that only 6 men are allowed over the wall at any one time. They all have their prescribed jobs, and they're fast. Richard is out on the track with 4 new tires and 20 gallons of fuel in 38 seconds. Here the Wood brothers go to work on Allison Cyclone. They're probably the fastest crew in auto racing. Donnie gets right side rubber, a full tank of fuel, and a clean windshield in 19 seconds. That's performance. Suddenly, there's mayhem on the track. One car blows, another spins in the oil, and the rear end of Bobby Isaac's Dodge Charger goes into flames. Under the yellow flag, the field is forced to slow down and hold their position. Because of this, the leaders take this opportunity to pit, knowing their crews can have them back on the track in a hurry, in many cases, without even the loss of 1 lap. The Holman Moody team do a sensational job on Pearson's front-running Torino. Here, Leroy Yarborough screams into the pits, and Junior Johnson and the crew are all over the car. Only 2 10-gallon canisters of fuel are allowed for refilling the tank. Then 2 all-men working on the right side of the car are required to return to the pit wall before the car can leave. That's all she wrote for Bobby Isaac as he dives into the garage area behind the wall. He'll be a spectator for the rest of this race. A NASCAR official stands by checking on every pit stop. They tolerate only a slight spillage of fuel. This is the reason. Carelessness in the refueling of Baker's car puts Buddy and the Dodge out of the race. The highly sophisticated machinery and fast pit stops in the Grand National Division causes a stark contrast to the rough and tough modified Sportsman division of NASCAR. These events are usually run on the shorter tracks, and this division makes an ideal training grounds for the young driver with aspirations toward late model stock car competition on the super speedway. These boys learn quickly to take advantage of the yellow flag for refueling and tire changes. Pits are relatively few for this division. The crews learn how to service their cars and get them back on the track in a hurry. There's plenty of action on the track and oftentimes even more in the pits. Here, number 21 comes in for fuel and ends up with a small fire instead. But as in all NASCAR events, firemen are in hand for every pit stop, and they smother it quickly. At a modified race, pit row is a beehive of activity with personnel doing everything from tuning an engine to rebuilding the entire car. At one of these races, the action is on every turn of the racetrack. By the time the checkered flag falls, the drivers, as well as the boys that back them up, are all a little bit wiser. The granddaddy of them all takes place once a year on Memorial Day weekend at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And like the stocks down south, when the yellow's out, half the field dives into the pits. Most of these cars, though, for fuel. Bud Tingelstad wheels the Federal Engineering Special in for a suspension adjustment. Here's three-time winner A.J. Foyt in his Coyote. His crew practiced these pit stops for hours on end. And it really pays off because A.J. averages about 20 seconds per stop. McCluskey limps in and his crew chief tells him the transmission is blown. They'll have to park it behind the wall. Raj is out of this one. Meanwhile, other cars go out the hard way. Over 1 million people visit the Speedway during the month of May. More than 300,000 are on hand for the race to witness 33 drivers in a wheel-to-wheel battle for over $1 million. In racing, there are no quitters. Every driver is a brave man. Every crew member, a performer. By any standards, every man is a true champion.
That's all there is. We just put the brakes on another one. I hope you liked the show and that you'll stop back next week. We'll have more of the thrills and action that only motorsports can bring. Until then, drive carefully, won't you? Remember, you do make all the difference in the world.